Let's talk about the tragedy and the lessons of San Bernardino. The tragedy is apparent. I mean, those poor people innocently celebrating at an office party to be gunned down in this horrific way, seemingly just by chance, is horrible, horrible. And your heart goes out to the people. But there's a very important lesson for us to absorb. And what it's about is the metastasization of ISIS. Because ultimately ISIS is not only a state trying to be formed in the Middle East, it's a state of mind that the Muslim fundamentalists are trying to spawn throughout the entire world, which is for Muslims to take up arms and commit seemingly random acts of terror to bring about their global caliphate and murder all infidels. And the weakness of the 9/11 plot is that it had to be plotted centrally, financed centrally, with massive equipment and special training, but that couldn't easily be replicated. But the lesson of the Fort Hood shooting and of the Paris shootings and the San Bernardino shootings is that you don't have to do that. They can simply send a lone wolf gunman in with a machine gun and do significant damage. And the lesson of San Bernardino goes one step further. You don't have to send them. You just have to incite them and, by the internet, inform them. And this creates the possibility of a homegrown, homespun form of terrorism that cannot be extinguished by military action. You could wipe out the ISIS state, but the propaganda would live after it, and the acts of revenge and terror would proliferate. This is a very different threat and a very difficult one. It doesn't in any way originate from abroad, except insofar as the propaganda is concerned. This should cause a whole rethinking of our national security situation. For example, the NSA debate about intercepting phone conversations was entirely about conversations between an American and someone abroad. Well, that's very comforting, but now they don't have to be abroad. They could be between fellow Americans. And it raises questions as to whether other forms of surveillance, inevitably more intrusive, are going to be necessary to stop this kind of thing from happening. It also raises the specter, which I think is particularly important, that you can't necessarily stop all of these. But what you can do is protect people by technical means. And I believe that that should increase the presence of metal detectors. I think anytime you have an institution where several people gather, a meeting hall or a clinic or something like that, there should be routinely a metal detector. And that means a security guard, an armed security guard. And we have to realize that not only in schools and airports, but in lots of different locations, this is necessary. In New York City now, we're used to signing in when we go into any building and presenting ID, any office building. Well, we have to increasingly look at the idea of metal detectors and other things to keep out machine guns and those kinds of weapons. The attempt of Hillary to move this into a gun control debate is ridiculous. These guys had pistols, handguns, and hundreds or thousands of rounds of ammunition. They had AK-47s, but they did a whole lot of their damage with handguns. It demonstrates the futility of trying to eliminate guns from our society and the importance of information, intelligence, and technical means of protection. Thank you.